you. All that you've been talking in the media. Oh, I can't fight him. He's my teammate. Guess what? I ain't your teammate no more. I'm just your daddy, Jorge, I'm coming for you, motherfucker.
I'm reading the Playboy we got in Chicago. It's got a shit ton of articles in it. There's like, I haven't even seen one Bush yet, so it's like,
Really?
It's a little disappointing. But yeah, let's get started with this.
Yeah.
This is Johnny and Jose with TigerBum MMA, and tonight we'll be going over it's the morning. This morning we'll be going over UFC 272, Covington versus Masvidal. So we'll be giving you our entire thoughts, predictions on the entire card. -1, I think. I versus Furo is canceled, so once we get to that particular card, we'll talk about something else. But glad to have you back, Jose, and I know you have a story for us when we go to our break.
I do indeed, yes. Good to be back.
Yeah, people were asking about you, so we'll discuss that when we can. Well, let's get started with the first fight of the night. Klein versus Devontae Smith, taking place at lightweight, allegedly, because Klein is taking the place of Eric, I forget his name, the Ghost Pepper. He was supposed to fight Devontae Smith, and on short notice, Klein is taking over. Whether this will be at that weight or not, we'll see during the weigh-ins. Currently, I don't think I see any odds on this, but it's an interesting bout. It is a very close fight, in my opinion, even on short notice. The thing about Devontae Smith is that he is like a freak athlete. He's very fast. He hits hard. I think he's a very well-rounded guy. I have my doubts about him. Like, he's been starched before by Kama Worthy and Jamie Mallarkey. That Jamie Mallarkey fight was quite fascinating. You know what's funny, Jose? That fight, when I forgot what the main event was, but when Jamie Mallarkey fought Devontae Smith, that was the second time in my life that I skipped out on a wedding to go see fights. And I just remembered that now. But no, Jamie Mallarkey completely starched Devontae Smith in the second round. Like, he started battering the legs. I think that's what caused Smith to kind of lose his movement. And then Jamie Mallarkey just completely battered him to the body and melted him. Prior to that, he was looking very, very good. I like Devontae Smith. I like his power. I think he's a very good up-and-coming mixed martial artist. He's still young. He's 28 years old. He fights out of Factory X, out of a good camp. He has a ton of power. Let me see what else I have on his notes.
Oh, it was Santos versus Walker. So it was Mahita.
Oh, I guess so. You're right. That makes sense. Yeah. That was a complete dud. But I think here's the thing about Devontae Smith. I think he has the ability to be a very good MMA fighter, maybe even climb up the ranks. And I think this could be a performance that if he beats Klein, it could be a breakout performance for him, where it could be like, oh shit, let's keep an eye on Devontae Smith. He's not this guy that we can like take lightly. You know, he just has to adjust some things. I mean, he had some really good moments with Justin James. I think he's very skilled. Klein, on the other hand, he's on a 2-fight losing streak. He absolutely needs this fight. He needs this win. The thing about it is that I'm pretty sure he's confident enough to take this fight on short notice. He must have been training. If you're losing 2 in a row, you don't want to lose another third fight, get kicked out of the UFC. I know the first fight that he lost was against Mike Trizano, and that was a bit sketchy. I like the power play from Klein, even though, he did look pretty pedestrian against Nate Landwehr. That was a disappointing performance. He does not like getting pushed back against the cage. He doesn't like a dogfight. He likes to be clean and technical. Devontae Smith, I think he can make it a pretty ugly fight, although, Klein is a much better striker technically than Devontae Smith, but Smith has a shit ton of power. I don't think either of these guys like to be crowded or, pressured. So it's interesting to see what happens. This one's really tough to actually break down. Everything in my end is pointing to Devontae Smith as the winner of this fight. I think he can actually knock out Klein. The power he possesses, the speed that he has, while he still has it, I think he could just give issues to Klein. If he can try to wrestle Klein, he might be able to tire him out and just make him uncomfortable. For me, it's a 50-50 matchup. I don't think it'll go the distance. I think one of these guys is going to knock out the other. I think Klein is out here trying to make a statement and kind of reclaim some of that hype. Because for a minute, I thought he was a bit of a fraud. Like, I had money on this asshole to beat Nate Landwehr, and he was like a over 300 favorite, and he loses to Nate Landwehr. And it was more so the style clash of Landwehr just, being grimy. And then just that's what making me think that Smith is going to win, because during the fight, Ludovic Klein was keeping it classy on the outside, gentlemanly. And then Nate Landwehr, near the end of the round, just started bum rushing him and sold the round back. And if Devontae Smith is getting outclassed on the outside and he decides, fuck it, I'm going to bum rush, he could land some significant strikes and just steal the round. So for that particular reason, I'm going to go with Smith. I'm not confident in it. I'd like to hear what people think on this one, because I think Klein should be the favorite just based off of, better competition that he's fought. But I'll go with Smith. I think he just has that X factor, and I think he can mix it up well and give Ludovic Klein some issues. But man, I'm worried about betting a guy who is confident enough to fight a guy like Devontae Smith on short notice. So it's an interesting fight. So I'll go with Smith. Tentatively, I might change it down the line. I'll say by second round TKO. I think he bum rushes him and clocks him.
Well, I'm going with Devontae Smith just based on the pictures. It looks like he can take a body shot. So that's I'm basing my decision solely on that. Well, the thing about Ludovic is that he's 0-2 in his last two fights, and he's 1-2 in the UFC, but he's lost his last two fights. So I think he's got his back against the wall, and then. They offered him this fight, and his manager's like, well, Ludovic, we better take this fight. He's like, yes, I can see your point. So, yeah, they got their backs against, him and his team got their backs against the wall. Going 0-3 isn't going to look good, but unfortunately it's coming against Devontae Smith, and I think Devontae has enough to edge out Ludovic just by a little bit. Oh man, that didn't come out. Oh shit. Okay, yeah, he's gonna edge out Ludovic by a little bit. Yeah, my accent didn't help that. That was supposed to come out funnier, but anyway, I think Devontae Smith, he has less fights, but I think he's shown, his last fight against Jamie Mallarkey kind of sucked. But I think he's had enough time to recover from that. He did beat Justin James. That's pretty noteworthy.
Oh, yeah.
Considering how disappointing Justin James has been. So that really isn't very noteworthy. That's kind of a joke. Now, one thing to note is that he did lose to Kama Worthy by left hook. But I think this was, if I recall correctly, I think Kama Worthy,
he came in on short notice, actually, now that you mention it.
Yeah, no, more than that. Kama Worthy, what fight was it? Yeah, I think I first paid attention to Kama Worthy after the Devontae Smith fight against Luis Pena, because I was pretty high on Luis Pena, but that piece of garbage, I substituted garbage for shit, FYI. He let me down. I thought, oh, well, he just gave up. He was being stupid and cocky. And then I'm like, why is he being cocky? He fucking sucks. And then it's like, oh, great, But then Kama Worthy went on to lose to Otman Azatar, Jimmy Mallarkey, Jai Herbert. And now he's in Brawl in the Berg. So that's Kama Worthy for you.
Damn. Not even Eagle FC. Well, that's some shit.
Yeah, so... But I think Devontae Smith has, I think he has enough to edge him out. I think he should win. He has 2-inch height advantage, 4-inch reach advantage. Okay, I guess he's a little bit older, but not by much. And he doesn't have his back against the wall, so I think maybe he's feeling less pressure as opposed to Ludovic, because I think he's very, I don't know. I've never been in that position, being 0-2 in the UFC, but I kind of try to put myself in that and be like, well, I guess if I lose a third time and I'm not really and I thus far haven't been very impressive. Am I gonna stick around as much as what's that guy's name? Smiling Sam Alvey.
Oh yeah, rest in
Because
peace. He's
he
out of
was
the UFC now. Everyone
yeah
got
he
what
was
they wanted.
yeah he was like 0-10. I was like, I don't know who's how much and how good Dick him and his team sucked over the years to remain in the UFC for so long. But Ludovic Klein and his team are looking at each other. He's like, I'm not sucking Zadik. You're sucking Zadik. Anyway, yeah. So I don't think him and his team are up for a circle jerk after going 0-3. So yes, I think he's going to feel the pressure, and I think that's maybe going to lead to him making some sort of mistake during the fight. And I think Devontae is going to, I don't feel necessarily capitalize completely on it, but I think, he'll edge him out. So I'm going to take Devontae Smith by split decision at the very least. I think it will go the distance, because this is going to be one of those where like, oh man, this is going to be a banger, but then it's like, oh no, it's going to be Stylebender versus who is it? Who was that bald guy, the Italian bald guy that he beat? Marvin Vittori. Yeah, it's going to be like, oh no, it's going to be him sparring against Vittori or him sparring against Whitaker or some shit.
All right, our next bout taking place at, wait, is it bantamweight? Well, it says bantamweight on here, but I think it's taking place at 145. It could be wrong. But we've got Umar Nurmagomedov, Brian Boom Kelleher. The odds on this one currently have it in favor of, you would guess it, Nurmagomedov. Depending on where you go, you can get him as a pretty shitty minus 600, and Kelleher coming back at plus 450. This one, you automatically know what you're thinking when you're thinking of a Brian Kelleher versus a Nurmagomedov. You're like, yeah, Nurmagomedov's going to win easily. But, watching some tape on Nurmagomedov, there's some aspects of his game where he can be countered and capitalized upon. Essentially, all I have down written about Umar based off of like the last few performances, the one where he actually choked out Sergey Morozov, which is, when you think about it, he gets choked out a lot. Twice in the UFC by rear naked choke, but he's a good kicker. That's his main game plan. Like, he's staying on the outside. His kicks are very, very good. He's a good wrestler, but as I mentioned in the commentary during that fight with Morozov, he's more of a striker opposed to the grappler. But it's pretty fascinating that they would say that, because his grappling's pretty fucking good. The way he kind of handled and scrambled with Morozov was like impressive. The fact he was able to essentially out wrestle primarily a wrestler. He's essentially the combination of Zabit mixed with Khabib. He's just not as good as both, but combined together, he's a very dangerous opponent. This one should be pretty simple, Brian. Very able to withstand the type of pressure and chain wrestling that Umar is going to provide. So I will go with Umar to win this one by second round, not pick apart Brian beat on the outside. And if it is taking place at bantamweight, I'm not certain why I think it's at featherweight. I think I read something, and it could have been that fake news bullshit. But I'll go with Kelleher to lose at bantamweight. He tends to lose more so at bantamweight. He carries more power at featherweight. If it was featherweight, I'd be a little bit more concerned of that right hand. But I'll go with Nurmagomedov to win. Second round TKO, he lands a beautiful left high kick and knocks out Brian Kelleher, or maybe knocks him down and finishes him up with strikes. So I'll go with Nurmagomedov, second round TKO.
Yeah, I'm going with Nurmagomedov as well, just because I immediately thought Khabib, and I'm like, oh, Khabib's going to take him apart. But yeah, Brian, I don't know if he's going to have the boom at 135. He might have a bam, like maybe a bam or two. But I think Nurmagomedov is going to have enough defense and maybe head movement to get under those strikes. The way I see the fight going is they're going to meet in the cage, as soon as the bell rings, and Nurmagomedov's going to, test out, Brian's what is it? The distance, his power. And I think if Brian does bring a little bit of boom, then he's going to go straight to the wrestling. So I think Nurmagomedov is going to go to that wrestling or chain wrestling if and when Brian does bring the boom. I think Brian will bring the boom. If he's, well, I guess game plan, his game plan is going to be one of two things. Either, be a sort of a sniper, pick and choose his strikes, or he's just going to come out and, with the Brian Barrage. Is it Brian Barrage?
The Brian
Brian. Yeah, he's going to bring his Brian Barrage. He's going to dye his head. Well, he's bald, so he has no hair. So he's just going to get a paintbrush, get some regular old house paint, and just paint his head blonde. So, so he can mimic, what's his name?
Brunson?
Brunson. Brunson.
Rest in peace, Brunson, man. I'm sure you saw the fight, but when Cannonier was landing those elbows, like I've been saying this joke all the time, but like you can see the very moment Brunson.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. Brunson, I don't know, man. I guess maybe he got a little too cocky, or I guess he thought he was already. I don't know. I really don't know what goes on in that guy's head, man. Whenever he comes up against the actual fight that will elevate him to, a champion fight or put him in, it's like he just crumbles like a cookie, man. Or crumbles like a very dry brownie or whatever the hell.
You kind of cut off there. So you just to kind of assume what you said is that the fight that when he can get propelled, he kind of crumbles like a dry brownie.
Yeah, he crumbles like a cookie or a dry brownie or whatever you're into, like a, day old croissant, whatever. But I don't know what it is, man. He needs to go see a sports psychologist or, see one of those, go to like I don't know, go see some sort of a spiritual something or other. Go see a yogi or something to, address what the hell is making him not take it, to that next level, man. Because, dude, this was his shot, But then, I'm pretty sure Izzy's going to give Cannonier the next title shot since he beat that guy. Even though I don't know if Cannonier necessarily earned it, and I think it's going to be a boring fight anyway because it looks like Izzy's fighting not to lose versus fighting to win now, so that's kind of lame. But anyway, not to get sidetracked here. So I'm going to take Nurmagomedov. I'll take him by second round jumping spinning back kick. I think he's going to catch Kelleher with some of that, but I think he's pretty. I think if anything, he's a pretty dynamic striker. I'll give him that. And I think Kelleher is going to have a little bit of trouble with that and the grappling, and he's going to be like, it's going to throw him off a little bit because he's used to just, guys kind of not being that dynamic and having, having them kind of stand there and he can, bring his power and his technique, I guess. His power's, pretty straightforward versus, coming at weird angles. So I'll just take Nurmagomedov here by, so I'll just say second round TKO because I think he'll probably catch him in the second round.
Not at light heavy. We've got Nick Negumereanu versus Nzechukwu. Having trouble saying that name. I make sure I'm not going to get taken off of YouTube. but currently the odds in favor of Nzechukwu at a minus 155. Comeback on Negumereanu is plus 135. This one so far is probably the worst fight on the card as of the first, I guess, three. Out of the first three, this one's the worst one because it's really hard to gauge and get an idea of what's going to happen on this one. Kennedy, I've been saying it for a long time. He's physically gifted. He's 6'5", 83-inch reach, training out of a good camp in Fortis MMA. He should be a destroyer, but there's something about him in the cage that I think he's just too nice, and he doesn't perform his best at times, and he kind of lets not only himself down, but the people down. Like with Da Un Jung, he had his guard up high, and that's primarily how he defends. Is he has a really tight high guard, and an elbow got through and knocked him out. I had to rewatch it a couple times just to make sure that elbow even landed because it face planted him. It's like, dude, you blocked it. Either Da Un Jung has incredible power in his elbows, like magical fucking elbows that knock you out just by the transference of energy, or you fucking quit. But it looked like it clipped him in the back of the head. So that's a concern. The dude is a slow starter, and you can't bet on him to do what an African savage should do. And when he does let it go, he's pretty phenomenal. Like he's big, he's strong, he hits hard, he can knock you out. I'm just concerned that he's not going to perform. And after being knocked out like that against Da Un Jung, is he going to be the same? You know, we saw what happened with him and Danilo Marquez. Like he eventually got the TKO, and against Olberg, like he just didn't perform until he let it go and eventually, knocked out Olberg. As for Negumereanu, the guy's a tough guy, Romanian wrestler, and it's evident to know just looking at him and looking at his style, he's not the best fighter on the roster. Kennedy can easily beat this guy if he uses his skill set. The problem with Kennedy, as we mentioned, is that he kind of lets rounds go, and Negumereanu, despite being not very great anywhere, like his striking's so-so, and his wrestling, it's not the greatest. Like he hasn't really been able to use his wrestling very well against his wins against Olekseijczuk or Ike Villanueva. Speaking of Ike Villanueva, personally looking at that fight, maybe I'm biased, but I think that would have been a no contest. He hit him in the back of the head a ton of times with the ground and pound. The thing about Negumereanu is that he moves forward and he's willing to brawl. And Kennedy, I think he isn't willing to get in those brawls sometimes. Like he'll shell up a lot and it'll give the perception of him losing, even though he's not necessarily getting hit clean. If Negumereanu moves forward and just makes it a dogfight, like I know he will, there's a chance he could win a really gritty decision in the clinch. The dude's very hittable. I'm not certain how good his chin is if he gets hit clean by a guy who's 6'5". It's super fucking tough for me to break this one down because anything could happen. I can see Kennedy losing the entire fight and then lands the one punch or the one knee up the middle, knocks out Negumereanu, which he'll be contesting because he might not be fully out because he's a tough guy. He took an ass whooping from Safarov, like an ass whooping from Safarov. But on the opposite end, Negumereanu can just avoid those punches, move forward, clinch up Kennedy, tire him out, and just win a really sloppy, nasty decision. I'm kind of going based off of just, I'm worried about this fight. Like, I'm not touching this one at all. If you guys think of something that you might see in regards to this particular fight, that you might have a lean, like a solid lean, like, oh, Kennedy's been seeing a sports psychologist or something like that, that might change things. I think that would help him. My initial pick would have been Kennedy by decision, but via the rules, I have to do dog or pass. Since Negumereanu is a dog, I reluctantly will go with him to win by decision. I'm logically, though, I think Kennedy wins it. I don't want to be that 50-50 asshole because,
I am.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, dude. Like Kennedy, if he has to perform, I can't trust him to perform. I can at least trust Negumereanu to try to win. And I think, I don't think he will win. I think Kennedy, he's that X factor, man. If he does that one thing in the last second of the round, he'll win the fight. He just has to let it go. But I can't trust him to let it go the thing about Negumereanu, I can't trust him to be a good fighter, but I can trust him to at least try to win the fight. So based off of that, I'll go with Negumereanu. I'm zero confident in it. I'm just going based off of I have to make a pick. Negumereanu by decision, but not confident.
Yeah, I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to pick Negumereanu as well. But here's the thing. The way I see the fight going, I think Negumereanu's best chance at here's for those of you that aren't familiar with the situation is, so Kennedy is 6'5" to Negumereanu's 6 foot even, so he has 5 inches of height on him, and he has 5 inches of reach on him. That's a lot. So on their feet, Kennedy is going to have the height and reach advantage, pretty significant. So essentially, Kennedy's the Stefan Struve of this division, from what I can see. He's pretty damn tall, pretty damn lengthy. And you think that'd be a positive thing, but Stefan Struve, he should have, by all, through most intents and purposes, dominated the heavyweight division. But he got the hell knocked out of him by Mark Hunt and shorter guys. He let guys get on the inside and beat the hell out of him. And I think he only who the hell that guy? Yeah, anyway, I won't get into it. Stefan Struve. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is he wasn't very good. He didn't use his length, his reach, his height to its maximum potential. Kind of like John Jones did. Basically, what I'm trying to say is he didn't eye poke enough.
Yeah, eye poked enough to beat a former UFC champion, so I'll say that.
Pretty much. He didn't he didn't eye poke enough to get a title shot or, dominate as much as he should have in the heavyweight division. So that being said, Kennedy's best chance at winning this fight is to eye poke the hell out of Negumereanu and make it seem like it's Negumereanu's fault for, it's like, hey man, his eyes are, coming into my fingers. Like, what the hell? But Negumereanu, I think his path to victory lies on either getting on the inside, or as you mentioned, grabbing him, keeping him, smothering him against the cage, tiring him out and such, or just going under his strikes and wrestling, grappling and wrestling him and tiring him out that way. So I don't know. It's a pretty difficult one. I'll go with Negumereanu, just because I want to hear the announcer say his name. At the end of the fight.
They have to be very careful, and I know we've made that joke before.
Yeah.
I hate redoing jokes, but if you say it fast enough, oh man, you get taken off of Spotify.
I want to see them get canceled. And I was going to say this at the very beginning of the thing of this episode, but I am honestly pretty sad to see that Jessica Ai is not fighting on this card. I'm probably the only one. No, I'm joking.
I was about to say, I had oh man, I'd like to see that fight. I actually had notes to break it down. I'm like, here are the path to victories for Jessica Ai to win this fight against Manon Fiorot. But
I
think we all know, I think we all know.
So
yeah. You have
the best path to victory for that would have been for security not to let Manon Fiorot in the building. But yeah, I'm going with Nick. I'll say by decision because I don't think either of these guys is knocking. I don't see any knockouts or submissions in this fight, so I think it'll go the distance. But I think Nick will, if his team, it's a big if.
Yeah.
If his team is, I don't know, it might be a draw because they both might be too tentative to even throw strikes.
Oh no, I don't predict. I think Negumereanu, dude, I will say this. He's an fuck. I don't want to like say the wrong thing, but the only thing that comes into my mind is like he's so dumb that he's willing to go forward and eat punches, but that's like a good thing in a way. Like he's willing to like put himself in that firefight, which is why I'm like, I guess I have to go with him.
Yeah.
He's gonna at least try, and opposed to like Kennedy, he's just like he throws one fucking shot at a time. I'm like, dude, let your hands go. You're so big and strong. Like what a waste.
Yeah, I'll go with Nick as well. And then it's gonna blow up on our faces, and Kennedy's gonna get some spectacular knockout or some shit.
I'm predicting that. I'm already considering this one a loss, so I'm ready to go. Let's move on to the next fight. Very good fight at lightweight. We've got Jalen Turner, the Tarantula Turner, versus Jamie Mallarkey, and currently the odds have it in favor of, depending on where you go, about minus 125 for Turner, come back on Mallarkey minus 105. It's a pretty close fight. I will be upfront. When I first heard this fight being broken down, like, hey, Jalen Turner's fighting Jamie Mallarkey, I'm like, I think Jalen Turner takes that fight. He's shown some improvements. He has been on a really good win streak. 3 in a row, beat Josh Kulabau, ground and pound. He beat Brock Weaver by rear naked choke, and he beat everyone's favorite darling, Uros Medic, by submission. I remember cashing the like plus 120 on Jalen Turner to beat Uros Medic, and I was at the casino after I placed that bet. And I get to my car, and by the time I get to my car, he had already won. So I was like, I better go get my fucking money. It was awesome. But this fight, man, this is going to be a great fight at lightweight. Jamie Mallarkey, I just remembered what I was going to say about Jamie Mallarkey. I'll just say it now. He has been on a 2-fight knockout streak, and he has a thing about beating black guys. He's been knocking them out. So it's like, Jalen Turner, you're in trouble. It's a great fight, man. Jamie Mallarkey, since coming into the UFC, he lost to Brad Riddell. Excellent fight where he took an ass whooping, came back, and nearly, I don't want to say nearly won the fight, but he gave the perception of like he can turn this around, then immediately got taken down and it didn't work out. And then Faraz CM kind of put a clinic on him. Since then, he's been training with his former foe, Volkanovski, the champ Volkanovski, and it kind of shows like his confidence up, his conditioning's up. The guy puts on a pace on people, and it just absolutely melts them. That knockout against Kama Worthy was like absolutely beautiful. That left hook that he sets up, like he ducks down, left hook, it's like fantastic. His body shots are ridiculous. The body shots that he landed on Devontae Smith, like I remember the feeling I felt when I saw them live, and then when I rewatched it, I was like, oh shit, like rubbing your nipples type of stuff. It was awesome, man. He goes after you. His chin is phenomenal. He gets dropped a couple times. He's got excellent recovery. He does get cracked, and I'm very high on Jamie Mallarkey. I don't think he's the most skilled guy, but he puts a pace on dudes that just completely melts guys. If you can't get him out of there, he's a problem. And he's Australian, and I just kind of let my fake Australian accent go. Shout out to all the Aussies out there. Aussie. Jalen Turner, I like the guy. He's got a long reach. Surprisingly enough, he only has 1.5 inch reach advantage against Jamie Mallarkey. He's going to be the taller guy by 3 inches. He also has a bit of a chin issue. He's been knocked out before. He got knocked out by Luque at a higher weight class, but that's not really, I can't really compare that because Luque is like he's a damn destroyer at welterweight. I think Jalen Turner is the more skilled athlete, the more skilled guy, the longer guy. Logically, he should win this one. But Jamie Mallarkey just has that quality about him that if you let him in the fight, if you let him dictate the pace, move forward on you, and just start, pinning you up against the cage and landing body shots, he's so damn tough that he can take your ass whooping, and then when you're exhausted, he'll come back and beat your ass. And like, again, I think Jalen Turner, he absolutely has a way to win this fight, just keeping on the outside. He's a very good striker himself. He was striking well with Uros Medic. It would benefit him to go for takedowns. And, we saw Jamie Mallarkey get kind of manhandled by the striker for ACM with takedowns himself. Although Jamie Mallarkey is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, I don't necessarily trust him to be the better grappler against Jalen Turner. I think Jalen's just so fluid on the ground, so gender fluid on the ground. But I'll go with Mallarkey. I think eventually he will cause some damage on Jalen Turner. Mallarkey, he threw very hard kicks against Devontae Smith that really impacted his movement. It would benefit him to do the same against Jalen Turner. If he does land the right kick on Jalen Turner and his skinny legs, it would just swing the favor for Mallarkey. He is a very good round 2 and 3 fighter. He comes in hard. That first round might be very close, but I'll go with Jamie Mallarkey. If he is still an underdog, I love Jamie Mallarkey as an underdog. I'll go with him to win this one by second round TKO.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, but I think that's a bunch of malarkey.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to go against Jalen Turner. So I'm not. I'm actually gonna go with Jalen Turner. I think he's fought the better competition so far. I think he has better.
Jalen Turner?
Yeah, man. He fought Brock Weaver.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's fought Vicente Luque. He's fought Matt Frivola. And he steamroller the Frivola because Frivola beat him.
Yeah.
He beat Josh Kulibau. He's on a pretty damn good streak, man. He beat Josh Kulibau. He beat Brock Weaver, and he beat Rose Medic. So he's on a pretty nice streak. I think his confidence is pretty high, and I think Jimmy Mallarkey is going to come at him pretty hard. But I don't know if he's going to come at him. Hopefully, he doesn't come at him too hard. As hard as Vicente Luque came at him. That would suck for Jalen Turner. But I think he has. I mean, what you said. He's Jamie has those kicks, and Jalen Turner having the height advantage. He's gonna, he fights taller, and that's actually not good news if Mallarkey does bring those kicks, and by that I mean, so Jalen isn't gonna be, it isn't gonna be. Best way to put it is he doesn't have that Machida stance where he's ready to parry back and forth, avoid strikes, avoid kicks and whatnot. So he's gonna probably take some of those kicks, and they might fuck him up pretty bad. Depending on whether he lands calf kicks or how good of calf kicks he might land and whatnot. So it doesn't look all that great for Turner. I will go with him though. I think he has what it takes to beat Mallarkey, even though they're both. This to me is a coin flip fight. It's 50-50, and the odds, are gonna, I think, reflect that. But I won't go into big butts. I'll just stick with Turner. I think he is the favorite for a reason right now, and that's just so money can come in on him and the casinos can make a ton of money on Mallarkey. I don't think a ton of money is going to come in on this fight anyway.
I don't think so. I mean, I'm going to put money on Mallarkey as an underdog, but
that's a pretty good bet. But I'll stick with Turner. I'll say he gets the decision here. He does just enough to. I think this will be. At least for Turner, it'll be like a sparring match. I don't think he'll go too hard on Mallarkey, but I think Mallarkey will come hard at him with some kicks eventually. But I don't know how many kicks he'll be able to get on Turner before he starts to, counter with jabs and crosses and whatnot. With those kicks. So I think Turner will do enough to at least get the judges to give him the nod. So I'll go with him for decision.
Our next bout at strawweight, we've got Marina Rodriguez versus Yan Xiaonan. And currently the odds have it in favor of, holy shit, minus 300 for Rodriguez. Wow. And a plus 235 for Xiaonan. Those odds are baffling because on my end, I think it's a much closer fight. I know Rodriguez has fought the better competition, but damn. I was going to justify, I'm just going to get it out of the way. I got Rodriguez to win this one by decision. I think she's fought the better competition. I mean, this is a striking battle at 3 rounds. Xiaonan, her last fight, although getting, dominated by Carla Esparza with good old-fashioned American wrestling, it should not warrant her to be that big of an underdog. That's crazy. They're both good strikers, man. Like they are both very, very high level strikers. This is going to be a shootout between two of the best strikers in that division. I don't know. I don't like that. Those odds completely broke me down. Marina Rodriguez, Muay Thai specialist, good knees, elbows, good in the clinch, long and tall. Wrestling is the weakness, of course, but I think she actually does stuff off of the bottom, opposed to Yan Xiaonan, who just got completely, utterly broken by Carla Esparza. And yeah, man, it's crazy. I think it's a lot closer. I wouldn't blame anyone for taking Xiaonan as a huge underdog like that, as a significant underdog.
I would.
You would blame. I mean, looking at her fight, like she's a good striker. Like her kicks, her side kicks, she's fast, she's active, she throws a lot, she does a lot of the kias and stuff. Or maybe I'm thinking of someone else. There's like this whole card has women that kia all the fucking time, so I get them confused. But it's one of those things like it could be very close on the feet. Who's willing to grapple? Yan Xiaonan actually is training with Team Alpha Male, so you do know that at least she is conscious that her wrestling sucks. And frankly, I think she could even go for takedowns against Marina Rodriguez. It's going to be an interesting fight between two really good strikers. I still think that Marina Rodriguez is the better fighter. She's fought some really good strikers in her division. Michelle Watterson, I wouldn't say Hebas. She knocked her out. Mackenzie Dern, her fight with Mackenzie Dern, I think proved to me like this girl might be ready for a title shot. Like after Esparza, I think she should win. Should she win this fight, she should definitely, obviously, fight for that title against Rose or Carla. But I just don't like the odds on this one. I'll go with Marina Rodriguez. I think, again, she has the better experience. She's going to be the slightly taller, longer girl by an inch in height and 2 inches in reach. But it's women's MMA, man. I can picture Yan Xiaonan going for takedown, getting it, and completely like pissing people off. Like, get up, Marina, get up. And then your parlays are fucked. So I would stay away from this one, especially at those odds. But I think Marina, she's good. They're both very good. Yan Xiaonan, her getting exposed like that by Carla Esparza, the divisional wrestler in that division, it shouldn't bring her down that bad. Had she not lost to Esparza, I think it would have been a lot closer. Man, I don't like those odds at all, but I think Marina is the rightful favorite, not by that much. I'll go with her to win. I think it's going to be a decision. It's going to be a back and forth. I am worried that it'll be really close because Marina, she's a sniper in there. She doesn't throw a whole ton of volume. And Yan, being the standout striker that she is, she does throw a lot and she's very active. I think she moves more. So I'm worried about the perception of her winning on the feet. So the first person to shoot for a takedown, I think, is going to win. I'm worried that's going to be Yan Xiaonan, but I'll go with Marina Rodriguez to win this one by decision.
When I look at this fight, I think of that little kid in the supermarket with his mom, or you're like, "Hey, mom, can we get Rose versus what the hell's her name?
Weili Zhang.
Weili, Mom, can we get Rose versus Weili?" He's like, "We have Rose versus Weili at home." To a certain extent, just because they both kind of mirror that fight. And while Carla Esparza hasn't fought Weili, I think she would dominate her as well, which is funny. So Carla Esparza, technically, at least in my mind, has dominated the four of the top women in this division without having fought Weili yet. But yeah, I think she'll fight her eventually. But yeah, you do have a point. Funny thing, I actually thought Marina was going to get the next title shot until I remembered, like, oh yeah, it's Carla, but where the hell's Carla? Where the hell has she been? Anyway, according to Rose, she's going to give her the next title shot, which is fine. I think Marina's going to get it right after that.
Oh yeah.
I think Marina, she has fought the better competition. She's better. I think she's better all around. And yeah, as you mentioned, I think Yan has her best shot at winning is, becoming a grappler and, taking down Marina at will. I don't think she will. I think she'll try. Maybe she'll get a few takedowns, but I think Marina's going to beat the hell out of her. Marina's become one of my favorite fighters for sure, hands down. Got a lot of respect. I think she's kind of hot too, but
Yeah, she's pretty cute.
Yeah, she's pretty lengthy. Yeah, I like that length. Take that for what you will. And yeah, so I'll take Marina for with the. I don't know if she'll be able to knock her out, but I think she will beat the hell out of her. So I'll take Marina by decision. But it's very possible. No, never mind. I was going to come up with a scenario, but I don't actually. Now that I thought about it, never mind. Because what I was going to say is like, oh, it's very possible she might reverse her and then elbow her. But I'm like, no, it's not Marina.
No,
she's a turtle on her back. Yeah, so I'll stick with Marina. I'm looking forward to watching her in the cage.
Next bout at flyweight, we've got Tim Elliott versus Tagir Ulanbekov. I'm looking at the picture that I chose, and I'm like, that's how I feel about Tagir Ulanbekov. He's eating ass. The odds currently have it in favor of Tagir. I just saw them. Where'd they go? Oh, minus 600 for Ulanbekov. Come back on. Oh, wait, that's Nurmagomedov. I'm getting them confused. 1 second here. So I'm like, I believe that he'd be that big of a favorite, but that doesn't make any sense. Okay, here we go. Minus 240. That's much more tolerable. And come back on. Tim Elliott is plus 200. This one, I didn't write much down. Like, I know Ulanbekov is coached by Khabib. He's arguably 0-2 in the UFC. His 2 fights in the UFC were against Bruno Silva, which I can make a huge argument that Bruno Silva won, and Alan Nascimento. Alan Nascimento came in on short notice during, Glover versus Polish Power, Jan Blachowicz, and he made it really close with his scrambles off the bottom, his attacks on the bottom with his jiu-jitsu game. It was a bit of a fucking scare, man. Like, Tagir, he's good, right? He's a good grappler, but I don't know what it is. Like, he doesn't fight to his ability. Like, he is one of the most beatable guys from that camp for Khabib's camp, and he's a decent striker. Like, he can be a bit stiff in there, but like, he can let his hands go. He's fine. I'm just trying to kill time because he's gonna beat Tim Elliott. Tim Elliott, we know he's 17-12. I give a lot of respect to Tim Elliott. He's one of the guys that rarely really gets talked about being like a anytime, anywhere, any place type of guy. Dude's willing to fight anybody, and he's fighting Tagir Ulanbekov. It's one of these fights that like people automatically know he's going to lose. You already have that perception, but he makes things kind of fun in there. He's very awkward. He's always putting up a fight, and he's a gritty wrestler. He trains with James Krause and Glory MMA and Fitness. He's banging Gina Mazzani last I checked, and I remember seeing a video of him, I guess, uppercutting her ass, like bang, 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 and I'm like, Tim Elliott, you're all right with me, my man. And what do I have here? I just wrote down Tim Elliott's not beating a Russian, Tagir by decision. Tagir, he needs a breakout performance. He has to finish Tim Elliott. I don't see him finishing Tim Elliott. I think Tim Elliott's very tough. He's very scrappy. The dude's willing to fight when he's knocked out. When he fought Askar Askarov, he fought Askar Askarov. Askarov knocked him out on his feet, and he kept fighting. It's like, holy shit. Like, literally, he was knocked out on his feet, and he just continued to fight. Like, he got knocked out, he got punched again, got woken up, and he continued to wrestle. So he's a tough guy. I respect the shit out of Tim Elliott. Funny enough, funny story, when he was fighting Espinoza, I remember he was cut, and I shit thee not, I'm 100%, I ain't lying about this. I remember telling my girlfriend, like, man, he's bleeding and he's on top of the guy. If I were him, if I was an asshole, I would rub my fucking bloody face on the guy. And second later, he started doing that. I'm like, you're the fucking man, Tim Elliott. He's fucking cool. But I got Tagir to win this one by a decision. At those odds, yeah, I think they're pretty solid. I think he wins this one by a decision. Don't be fooled by him being an OV and fighting out of the Khabib camp. Just recently, Zabit's younger brother, yesterday he fought in Bellator, and I thought he was going to run through this guy, and he ended up winning by decision, and he cost me a fucking parlay. So I wouldn't necessarily go with like inside the distance with a guy like this, Ulanbekov. I'll just be safe and bet him straight at minus 240 or so. So Ulanbekov by decision.
Yeah, this one to me is a coin flip fight, man. It's as much, and funny enough, I'm actually going with Tim Elliott here because Ulanbekov, he's I don't know, maybe I'm thinking of one of the Nurmagomedovs that fight for Bellator. But yeah, man, I should say he hasn't been all that impressive to me, especially in the UFC. Barely winning by split decision. I'm actually going with Tim Elliott here. It seems counterintuitive, but
bold prediction there.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe I'm thinking of I mean, Tim Elliott did have kind of a rough patch that's kind of continued, but he did lose to Figueiredo, Askarov, and Royval. That was kind of tough, but then he did beat Benoit, so that was to his credit. And he beat Jordan Espinosa, but then he lost to Matthews
Nicolau. Yeah, that was a weird fight, man. He looked like he was winning, and then he kind of coasted at the end of the round. I think James Krause is like, "Hey, yeah, you got it. Don't worry." And I don't remember specifically what he said, but it sounded like that, and I'm remembering it like that. And he essentially let the fight go, but
yeah, I'm taking that as I don't know why the fuck he slowed down, but I'm not taking that as like he got his ass beat, kind of like he did with either Figueiredo or Royval. So I'm not taking that as that bad of a loss. But yeah, I'll take him, short of Tajir coming in there and manhandling him, which is going to suck for him if he's not prepared for that. Yeah, I'll go with Tim Elliott. I'll go with Tim Elliott by split decision. Okay. I'll have him barely edging out Tajir. And it's going to suck for Tajir if he's not expecting that either. It's going to be like, what happened? He's like, hey, man, I expected you to smash. But I try. No, you don't smash enough. You smash more.
Dude, I do wonder what happens when, like, the Khabib camp fighters lose. Does Khabib, like, I don't know what he would do to him.
And he probably throws him in the basement. Doesn't feed him.
Next bout at light heavyweight. I'm looking forward to this one. I actually have really decent notes on this one. Some of these I'm just writing like, not beating Russian. This one, I think I have a pretty good idea. Dustin Jacoby versus Michael Olekseijczuk. And currently the odds have it in favor of Dustin Jacoby at minus 185. Comeback on Michael plus 160. This one is two strikers of a different background, primarily a boxer with Michael Olekseijczuk, and Dustin Jacoby being a pretty well-rounded kickboxer. It's going to be a hell of a fight. And I don't think this one, I'd like to say I don't think it goes the distance. There's a possibility it does. I think both men really have to make a statement. Michael, his last fight, he fought Shamil Gamzatov. And although I picked Gamzatov to win just because Michael, he's been kind of like off and on. He hasn't really performed as of late at a higher competition. I remember thinking, like, man, do not sleep on Michael to actually knock out Gamzatov. Gamzatov is like, he's one of these Russians he's not really a Russian. He's not all that great. Like, you can see the glimpses of him quitting, and he absolutely quit against Olekseijczuk. Dustin Jacoby, he's on a pretty solid streak, man. He comes into the UFC, knocks out Justin Ledette, beats Masvidal Grisham, goes to a split decision. Split decision draw with Kutalaba after he got dominated in the first round. Knocks out Darren Stewart and Josh Allen, and went to a decision with. I mean, he's a very good, well-rounded striker, good knees, good low kicks. I mean, when he lets his hands go, he has power. He's training at a Factory X. He's got a 3-inch height advantage and a 4-inch reach advantage. But I like a lot of what Olekseijczuk brings to the table. He has very fast hands, very good in and out, herky-jerky movement. He works the body beautifully. He has a lot of forward pressure. He's very good at crowding the kicker that, Jacoby is the kicker in this particular matchup. And he has a lot of a lot of volume. He's a southpaw, and he's going to be fighting the orthodox Jacoby. So this one's really tough to really break down because I think Dustin Jacoby and Mikhail, they're both very good strikers when it comes to the, discipline that they chose, boxing and kickboxing. I'm not certain, man, because I think I'm just reading my notes here that Jacoby has a more well-rounded skill set. He can attack the legs, but if Olekseijczuk pushes forward and just starts ripping to the body and then just like being the faster guy, I think he has a chance to beat Jacoby. And I think my overall prediction that I had here was that I think if Mikhail walks down, Jacoby uses his speed to like beat Jacoby to the punch. I think he can actually crowd the kicker and beat Dustin Jacoby. He fought Olekseijczuk, that is, he fought Modestas Bukauskas, who's a pretty damn good kickboxer himself. He's a much better kicker than Jacoby. And Olekseijczuk completely just walked him down, was in his face, used the better boxing, landed the better shots, and ended up winning that decision. It was a split decision. I thought Olekseijczuk won that one pretty clearly, at least 29-28. I like Olekseijczuk in this spot, especially at dog money, being that they're both strikers, knowing how tough Mikhail Olekseijczuk is, knowing that his 2 losses come via submission. I don't think either guy is going to go for a takedown. I think Olekseijczuk is a tough dude. He's got a really good chin. Jacoby's been dropped before. I'll go with Olekseijczuk at dog money to win this one by decision. I think he's going to be the faster guy. His movement's going to really dictate how the fight goes. If Jacoby starts landing low kicks, I'd be super worried, but I'll go with Olekseijczuk to win this one by decision.
I'm actually going with Jacoby here, and that's because I like his first name, Dustin, and he reminds me of Dustin Poirier in that, I think Dustin's eventually going to fight for the title at 205 against what's his name? Glover, until Glover fights Jiri. So then I guess Dustin's going to end up fighting Jiri for the title.
Dustin Jacoby, or are you saying that Dustin Poirier is going to blow up and fight?
No. No, I'm saying similar to Dustin Poirier, Dustin Jacoby is going to fight for the title multiple times and unfortunately not win. He might win the interim title if one of these guys takes a break or something, but I don't think he's going to ever win. But I think he will win here. I do believe he's going to have I don't think he's going to have the volume. I just think he's going to have the significant strike advantage versus Mikhail. I think Mikhail, similar to his fight against, you were just talking about it.
Bukauskas.
Yes, Bukauskas. I think he's going to walk him down. But I think walking him down, Jacoby's going to get in some pretty good strikes. And enough so to get that split decision here. I don't think either guy is going to grapple. This is going to be a sparring match, and I think Dustin's going to come out on top. I think he's going to, probably watch tape of Dustin Poirier's fights where he actually wins, and use that as inspiration against Mikhail. So I'm going with Dustin Jacoby here to win by split decision.
Our next bout, we've got a grudge match at flyweight. Marina Moroz versus Maria Agapova. This one I'm actually looking forward to. It looks like it got promoted to the main event of the prelims. I think it deserves it just based off of like the story behind it. This is essentially the main event women's version of what's it called? Colby versus Masvidal. Because I don't know if you were aware, Jose, Marina Moroz has been talking a lot of shit about Maria Agapova. I guess Agapova, just to kind of fill people in, she allegedly got kicked out of ATT for kind of being a party girl, going out, hanging out with the boys and doing drugs and stuff. That was the narrative that Marina Moroz was kind of spouting.
She was
being a girl.
Well, yeah, I was going to say whore, but okay.
She's being a party girl. You know, she likes the boys. I can't blame her.
Well, yeah, she is coming from Kazakhstan, so I think Kazakhstan's a pretty conservative country. So and she's like, "Oh, I can suck as much dick here as I want." Okay.
You know, I'm worried about saying what I wanted to say, but last night when I was breaking down tape, I turned to girlfriend and I said, like, I think Maria Agapova is the type of girl that, like, if she wanted to have sex with me, she would have sex with me, but at the end, she would make me This is where I kind of like, should I say what I want to say? She would make me jizz in my own face, like, do it. I'm like, like she's a scary girl, man. Like something about her is like she would dominate me. I'm like, oh my god, like I'm a tough guy. I'm a tough old hombre, but she scares me. But this one's a good fight. Like really, it's a really good fight. They're both very good strikers. I know we shed on Agapova. Like it's the Agapova rule: do not bet a girl that favorite. Actually, what are the odds? -225 for Agapova. Come back on Moroz is +185. And the Shayna Dobson issue, you know, I don't want to make excuses. It's her fucking fault. She called her out and then proceeds to gas out and then get dominated by Shayna Dobson. And then it was bad. So much so that although she's a very skilled girl, I think we both picked against her against Sabina Mazo. And she just utterly destroyed Sabina Mazo on the feet, on the ground. She has a ton of power. This girl's a very skilled striker. Let me read my notes on this one. She is, what did I write here? Oh, yeah, she's from Kazakhstan, former boxing champion. She's very good, very rangy striker. I think she did learn her lesson against Shayna Dobson, like, hey, pace yourself. Don't go fucking balls to the wall. Like when she came into the UFC, she went crazy against Hannah Cifers, and it paid off. Didn't pay off against Shayna Dobson. And I'm not certain where she's training out of. She isn't with ATT. The way she says it is that she didn't get kicked out, but she left. She was having like mental issues, like she needed to see a therapist. She got her shit together, and that's kind of what caused the poor performances, or the poor performance, I should say. I did read that she was at MMA Masters, but on her Instagram, she's training out of ATT Sunrise. So I don't know if that's like an affiliate of ATT. I have no idea. I didn't want to get into it. I was like, fuck it. Let's just focus on the skill set. The girl's good if she drops you, and she's really good at snatching your neck and going for the rear naked choke. So it's like, oh shit, I think she beats Marina Moroz, a girl who hasn't fought in almost 2 years. But looking at her Instagram, she is completely shredded, man. She is in great shape, and she's a good boxer herself. She is a master of sport in boxing and a master of sport in kickboxing. She's a Ukrainian fighter. And with what's going on in Ukraine, maybe that has something to do with her performance and how it plays out. Maybe she wants to really perform for her people, or maybe it's going to distract her. Who the hell knows? But taking that out of the equation, she's a good volume striker. She, as I wrote, she kias a lot. The kia, but she doesn't really land. She's a good volume striker opposed to Agapova, who's like more of a power striker. If Agapova lands, you'll see that more opposed to Marina Moroz landing and not really affecting Agapova. It's a great fight. And I think both of these girls are pretty decent enough in the ground. I think Marina Moroz, she took down Mayra Bueno Silva and actually handled her on the ground for a bit and edged out the fight. I'm interested in this fight. I think the buildup has been interesting. The issues that, if you look at it in the sense of like, if you're a betting man and if you're a superstitious man, anytime Maria Agapova calls out a girl, it doesn't work out for her. So I can see Marina Moroz actually edging this one out. I'm going to stay away from this one completely, of course, because it's women's MMA, and I think it's a lot closer than it should be. Or it's a lot closer than it's lined, I should say. I will lean Agapova to win. I think her skill set is very solid. I think she can actually hurt Marina Moroz on the feet and maybe even take her to the ground, not finish her, and just dominate her on the ground. Like, she hits hard. Like, she's got some great combinations. She's got some great kicks to the body. But, you know, I'm not counting out Marina Moroz on this one either. The only thing I don't like is a layoff. She hasn't fought in, almost 2 years. And, you know, she's not always that impressive. She doesn't necessarily put her not her combinations together. She does put her combinations together, but she doesn't put a lot of power behind those punches. So if Maria Agapova starts like stalking her and just landing the actual power punches, I can see that being the deciding factor in like, wow, she's beating her ass and marking her up, opposed to like, yeah, Marina Moroz is like landing more, but where's the damage? I'll go with Agapova as long as her head is straight and she doesn't pull any sort of heat-hearted bullshit. I think she wins this one just by being the more physical girl. But I would stay away from it, I'd advise. But I got Agapova. I'd like to say she wins this one by a finish because, like, again, the girl's kind of a wild girl. Like, she wants to finish and call girls out and finish these girls, like calling out Marina Moroz for talking shit about her. I can see her finishing her in like the third round or so, but logically, I think I'll go with this one by a decision. If these girls start swinging at it like they want to fucking kill each other, I'm gonna enjoy the shit out of it. So I'm not touching it. I'm afraid it'll go under, but I'll go with Agapova by decision.
Yeah, I'm going with Agapova here as well, just because she let me down last fight, and she did win her fight after Shayna Dobson. So I was like, oh shit. Okay, so maybe she learned her lesson. I don't know. Maybe she didn't. We'll see. I don't think this fight will go the distance, and I say that because, she's gonna be like, oh, I want to finish this fight because I want to go suck some. So she'll want to, she's probably gonna want to, she's gonna be antsy and she's gonna want to go party. So she's like, let's get this over with. I got, lots of nerve to suck. So,
I respect the girl like that. She knows what she wants and she's gonna get it.
Yeah, exactly. And she's gonna. Well, it sucks for all those guys because she's gonna make them jizz all over their faces afterward. So there's gonna.
Oh shit!
Sucks for them unless they're into that. And
what a stupid fucking comment I just said. Like I shouldn't have said that. Like that's like the first thing that came up to my head. Like man, like I like a joke here and there, but I'm like, oh man, like, the first thing that popped in my head, I'm like this girl's like she's into like it looks like she's into some weird stuff, like so much so like she would make you, all over yourself, and you're like, why? And like do it. I'm like, okay, chill, put the knife away.
Yeah, she's she's like, and where the hell were you storing that knife to begin with? She's like, don't worry about it.
Like, not that there's anything wrong with that if you're into that, but not for me.
But yeah, I'm going with Agapova. I think she's the better fighter when she has her head on straight. But I will be cheering for Moroz, because she is from the Ukraine and all that. But I think Agapova, she has her shit straight. She should win. If she doesn't, then she won't.
Yes.
So it's really so this is really Agapova's fight to lose, I think. And I'll go with her until I guess I'll ride the Agapova train. Just like every other guy who's waiting for her outside, until it derails.
It's funny that you said derails because that insinuates that there will be a train.
Yeah, that's there's going to be a train of guys waiting for her outside after a fight. And so so I'll take her by decision. I'll take her by second round TKO.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
And our next bout isn't happening. Jacoby versus Manon Fiorot. Whether they'll get a short notice replacement for Manon Fiorot. If they do, she's going to destroy her. Anytime anyone comes in short notice for Manon, they get utterly destroyed. Unless it's like, say, who could step in that would like disrupt that at that weight class? No.
Jessica probably.
No. I was like, no. Who would be like a good matchup for Manon Fiorot? Like, we're not going to really break it down, but like she already beat Mayra Bueno Silva, and she actually took her down. And Mayra Bueno Silva was just like, yeah, you hit me. That was good. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, you idiot? Like, I had money on Fiorot, but
They should put in Shevchenko.
That would be interesting. I don't think that'll happen. I don't think it'll happen.
Not Valentina.
No, I know.
She'll murder her.
Yeah. Well, let's not worry about this one. But I will say, please like, share, subscribe to the video as I put maul the like button. I almost felt bad doing that, but I'm like, I got to keep up with YouTube persona. And yeah, follow the Discord, Twitter, and Instagram. And Jose, tell us, where were you?
Well, as some of you may know, meaning none of you know, I've had several not excursions, several spiritual trips. My latest one, I was spreading the Book of Mormon. I decided to spread it in Thailand this time around. So there's a lot of Thais that have been spread by the Book of Mormon, so to speak. Take that as you will. And so I had, it was lots of fun. I kept hearing no, no, but as you know, no means yes, even in Thai. And yeah, so, and yeah, when I got back, I, decided to get back into the dating scene. And so what I did was I tied a string, I tied a plate of tacos to a string and just dragged it behind me. But unfortunately, if you're in LA, from LA, been to LA in the last few years, there's a lot of hobos and vagrants, and so that didn't work out very well. All I did was have a bunch of vagrants follow me. It didn't work exactly how I planned, so I decided to get on, these dating apps, and it's been business has been a little slow on there. I think it's maybe my pickup lines that aren't. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little rusty. So far, my best, or my current pickup line, which I guess in my mind is my best pickup line, is your face McDonald's ? Because I'm loving it. But I was gonna ask you if you had any suggestions. Or tell me, hey, is my pickup line, that's stupid, or
I mean, it'll work on like bigger girls, but like, oh my
that's
God.
what I'm hoping. Yeah.
So
Big thighs will save my life.
The only actual good like dating app pickup line, like a legitimate one that I can actually tell you, and I don't want to say it works all the time, but it actually, like, oh, you might get a response, is you say, and I haven't done this in years, if anyone specific is listening, if you know, but you would ask, hey, do you like pictures of cute dogs? Or do you like pictures of cute cats? If they happen to have a picture of a dog or a cat, you go with one or the other. At that point, if they say nothing, then what a bitch, she's an asshole. If they say yes, you would say, here are pictures of cute dogs. Or you would, if you have a dog, you would take pictures of your own dog to show. And then that way they'll be like, oh my God, what a cute dog. If you were to say, what an ugly dog, you'd be like, fuck you, you stupid bitch. And if they were to say, no, I don't want pictures of cute dogs, and at that point, they're not worth your time. But I would say a good 80% of the time that seems to work out, because who's going to say no to cute pictures of dogs or cats? And if they say no, you don't want to associate yourself with those kind of people.
Well, I should point out that I am allergic to cats and dogs, so.
Oh, then you're kind of fucked there, buddy.
Yeah. But I was going to say, yeah, if any of the subscribers or listeners have any suggestions as to better pickup lines, then by all means, I guess at this point I could use all the help I can get.
It's funny that I just remembered, because like I'm looking at my wall here and I have a bunch of Spider-Man toys on the wall. I once told a girl, like in person, like, hey, do you want to see my like I had zero fear, like I didn't give a shit, like I knew this wasn't gonna work. I'm like, hey, do you want to see my Spider-Man card collection? And she's like, fuck yeah. I'm like, oh shit, okay. it worked. I was like, holy shit. So yeah, maybe try that.
Huh. I guess maybe I'll I'm wondering if Pokemon is still popular with the 30+ crowd. So
it's unfortunately still very, very popular. I like Pokemon, but I'm like, all right, man, like chill out.
All right, maybe I'll just buy a bunch of Pokemon packs and hopefully get like a rare card and be like, hey, would you like to see my mint condition Blastoise? I'd be like, oh, sure.
There's too many innuendos there.
Yeah. Like, would you like to get your hands on my Blastoise? But all right. But if you guys have any any other suggestions on either good pickup lines, funny pickup lines, I'm trying to go the funny route, just to weed out the dumb bitches who have no sense of humor. Like, I got blocked by this one because she asked, like, oh, so what kind of... Well, she had... her tagline was music snob. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to see exactly where her sense of humor is. And she asked, oh, what kind of music are you into? I was like, oh, mostly polka. And then she immediately blocked me. I was like, this dumb bitch.
Oh, shit. Mostly polka.
Yeah, and then I'm like, okay, I guess she has no sense of humor.
That's pretty fucking funny.
Or she has, like, one of these old war, like those old war flashbacks of, her being at a polka event or something, I don't know. But I was like, oh, I thought that was funny. I thought that would make for a funny story. I have other funny dating stories I won't get into today, but I will probably divulge in the future. Some of them are a little, aren't G-rated, but I'll still tell it. I don't care, man.
They get a little blue.
I got nothing to hide except my wig and pumps and dress in the closet.
That's a good way to transition to the next fight at heavyweight, opening up the main card. Sergey Spivak versus Greg Hardy. The reason I bring that up is because we know Greg Hardy's past of beating up people who have long hair. But currently the odds have it in favor of, let's see if I can find it, Sergey Spivak, minus 210, come back on a plus 175. This one it's fascinating because we know, I guess, the legend of Greg Hardy, like the A-level athlete coming into the UFC. And he's, to be honest, he's fought very good competition without being fully seasoned yet. Like, he unfortunately had like a pretty rough time in the UFC as of late. He's on a 2-fight losing streak, being TKO'd, knocked out by Tai Tuivasa and Marcin Tybura. And what's fascinating is in both of those fights, he was doing very well. He was beating Tybura in the first round. He looked better than ever against Tybura. I was like, holy shit, this guy has finally put it together. And then the second round came and he just wasn't able to stuff takedowns, and he got tired and he got battered by Tybura. And the fight with Tai Tuivasa, he looked good. He hurt Tai Tuivasa and nearly finished him, but he came in there like a dumbass and he got punched in the eye and, got TKO'd. Neither of those fights he got fully put out. And it was like, okay, his chin's not terrible, but like you can kind of tell that he's not comfortable getting hit. He's kind of got a bit of a Brock Lesnar there, but a bit better. He's a great athlete, and he's fighting Sergey Spivak, a guy who just recently got TKO'd by Tom Aspinall, got hurt really bad with an elbow. But the guy's he's a pretty solid heavyweight, though. There's obviously a clear game plan for Spivak, and that's to take down Greg Hardy. Spivak. Wait, let me check. Did you just message me about being...
Yeah, you disappeared there for like a good 30 seconds to a minute.
Well, son of a bitch. Well, if it got cut off, I'm kind of making a case for for Greg Hardy to actually beat Spivak. I think Spivak, he's got a good jab. He's a good wrestler. But everything else, he's outmatched. He's going to be the smaller guy. He won't be as fast or hit as hard as Greg Hardy. But to beat Greg Hardy, you tire him out, take him down, and finish him there, And I can see Spivak doing that. I just can't count out Greg Hardy, especially at those odds. I know he's been knocked out twice, but if he lands clean on Spivak, it will absolutely hurt Spivak, and he can finish him. I have to go with Greg Hardy. Like, I know I might be biting myself in the ass here, but I think he can actually finish Spivak in the first round. Spivak has been knocked out very quickly. I think Walt Harris knocked him out, another really big, fast dude. And I'm not in the camp of shitting on Greg Hardy. Like, I'll make fun of Greg Hardy. He got knocked out and his previous issues in the past, but at least he's trying and he's trying to get better. And I respect that. He came into a sport very young. He got thrown in there to the wolves. He fought Alexander Volkov on short notice. I mean, that counts for something. You got to give the guy a little bit of respect. And I think he's getting better. And if he doesn't beat Spivak, I think at this point we can discuss like, hey man, he's a bust. And I don't think he's ever going to be as good, because at this point in time, if his cardio isn't as good and he still, he still has asthma, of course, but I mean, he has to finish it early. And I'm just worried if he gets tired, that's going to swing the favor for Spivak. But I think Greg Hardy can actually put it on Spivak pretty early, just like he did against Tybura, and actually get him out of there. So I'll go with Hardy to win this one by a first-round knockout. But we'll see. That's me being hopeful, especially getting dog money on Hardy, but I'll go with Hardy first-round knockout.
Yeah, I think Sergey doesn't have a good track record with bigger black guys, so I can see your point.
Yeah.
But I'm actually going with Sergey Spivak here. I'm going with technique over power. I don't know, man. I'm just trying to make it a little interesting here, because if I just go with Greg Hardy, even though I do think Greg Hardy's probably going to win, we've seen it where, with Greg, where technique, did overcome his power, and especially with let's see, Tai too. Well, Tai doesn't have the best technique, but he does have power. He's shown that those he can generate quite a bit of torque with those love handles. Man, they have. That's where his. Samson had his. Was it Samson? He had his hair. Tai Tuivasa has those love handles. I guess he can generate a massive amount of torque with them. That's insane. But he also did lose to Marcin Tybura and Alexander Volkov. He did beat Jorgen Castro and Maurice Green, but those aren't really, any high-level guys. I think Jorgen Castro's in fighting for some lower-level promotion now. But yeah, I think Spivak is going to have some slightly better technique. But counting out Hardy, I think this fight is going to have action. So I'd say maybe stay away from this one betting wise, because it's very possible it may go the distance, but this is just one of those fights where I think it's 50-50 whether it'll go the distance or not. Mm-hmm. Because there's some fights where you're like, oh yeah, these guys are going to kick so much ass, and then they just go the distance. Especially with heavyweights, because they're just very tentative. Because he's 0-2 in his last two fights, and so his back is against the wall for sure. And so I think he's going to be a little tentative there to not want to lose. I think he should be conscious of that, because if he goes 0-3, he'll be 7-5, and then at that point losing to Sergey Spivak, at least in his mind, he's going to be like, well, maybe the UFC is not going to want to keep me around or something. Versus Spivak, he lost his last fight against Tom Aspinall, but Tom Aspinall, he's kind of a beast, man. He's, there's no shame in that. And he did beat Alexei Oleinik. That was pretty crazy. I expected Oleinik to choke his ass out, but he didn't. Funny enough, he also lost to Marcin Tybura, mm-hmm. and also Tai Tuivasa. Funny enough, that's pretty.
I thought he beat Tai Tuivasa.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're correct. He did beat Tai Tuivasa. I was looking ahead. I was Walt Harris rather, mm-hmm. But yeah, he did beat Tai Tuivasa. So he's not, without, his technique or his own power. So I wouldn't put it past him to actually dominate heartily. But I'm going to go with Sergey here. I think the polar bear is going to have enough in his tank to hold off, the big black power that is Greg Hardy. So I'll take Spivak by decision. I don't think he'll knock him out, but I think he will just do enough with volume. I think Sergey, he's going to have more volume, whereas Hardy's going to have more significant strikes. Not to say that Greg Hardy's significant strikes are going to be more than Sergey's volume, but I guess what I'm trying to say is Sergey's striking is going to produce more volume, whereas Greg Hardy's striking is going to produce not more volume but more significant strikes. So he's going to strike less, but the strikes that he does make count are going to be pretty signiant. I don't know how else to put it, man. Now I'm confusing myself. So
never mind. What the?
Yeah.
It reminds me of fucking Kung Pao. It's like, oh, the ancient master said that the thing would the sign would be significant, and it cuts back. He's like, the sign will be of significance. Like, okay, now I know what you mean. It's gonna be Greg Hardy's gonna land the harder shots, and Sergey Spivak's gonna land more, and pretty much that. And it's just like if he's on top. I mean, once Sergey Spivak is on top, he's gonna be landing the significant strikes at that point.
Yeah.
But moving on to the next fight at welterweight,
Correct.
Kevin Holland making his welterweight debut against Alex Oliveira. Currently, the odds have it in favor of Holland, minus 250, 260 range. Comeback on Oliveira is plus 210, plus 220 range, depending on where you go. And I think it's pretty cut and dry. If Kevin Holland makes the weight, which I think he will, he's just going to be too much for Alex Oliveira. Kevin Holland, he's 6'3". Jesus, man, 6'3" at welterweight is going to be ridiculous with an 81-inch reach. And Oliveira, he's on a 3-fight losing streak. He is one of these like mini legends. Like, oh man, this guy will fight anyone. He's super fun to watch. He's always dangerous. He's only 34 years old, but the guy's been fighting and taking a ton of damage. It's like you can't really put all your stock on Oliveira. I know he can make it grimy, but Kevin Holland, I think he's got all the right tools. He's going to be the lanky, longer striker. He's got the black belt in jiu-jitsu under Travis Lutter. He's been beating up, I don't know if you've seen the videos, he's beating up people who have been talking shit to him, like these internet trolls. He invites them over to the gym and he just beats the shit out of them. So we know he's getting his rounds in the gym. So I think Kevin Holland, he is the rightful favorite. I think he is going to finish Alex Oliveira on the feet. I think he's going to use his length and eventually catch Alex and then finish him off on the ground. Alex has been finished in 2 of his last 3 fights. He got finished by Randy Brown, and Randy Brown is a lesser version of Kevin Holland. I think Kevin Holland's much better than Randy, but they have the same attributes. I got Kevin Holland to finish Alex Oliveira. I'll say maybe round number 2. The first round, it might be interesting, between the two, because Alex, he's no pushover, man. He's a tough guy, man. I respect the shit out of Alex Oliveira, so I don't want to say he's going to get starched in the first round. So he'll get starched in the second round. Alex Oliveira, I mean, he can make it interesting in there if he can bum rush Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland is coming off of a weird accidental headbutt, but he did get hurt with that. He did get knocked out. The weight cut could be an issue. Kevin Holland isn't the biggest guy at middleweight, so we'll see how he looks at a welterweight. But if there might be some sucked in cheeks, I might be concerned about betting Kevin Holland if he looks like shit on the scale. But I'll go with Holland regardless to knock out Alex Oliveira round number 2.
I'm actually going to go with Alex Oliveira here. But I'm going to go with him to get knocked out in round number 3.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're picking Alex Oliveira to get knocked out in round number 3.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. That sounds like we're going split, makes it interesting. But secretly.
I think Kevin Holland's going to get off to a slow start because of the weight cut. And so I think he'll probably catch his stride in round number 3, and by then, Alex Oliveira is going to be pretty beat up, and he'll probably get the TKO.
Oh man, I can't wait to see them talk to each other, because I know Kevin Holland's going to talk a lot. I think Alex is a loving guy that he'll be talking back, so that'll be fun to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be fun. This is actually overall, I think that this main card is pretty solid, I have to say.
Oh yeah, especially the next fight that's taking place at deer featherweight. Edson Barboza versus Bryce Thug Nasty Mitchell. Ooh, there's a lot to talk about on this one, but currently the odds have it in favor of Bryce Mitchell at a minus 150. Comeback on Barboza is a plus 130. I don't know if I want to get into what Bryce Mitchell's been talking about. He's been going like kind of nuts on Ariel Helwani. I'll avoid all that shit. I don't really want to talk about it. I don't really give a shit what he says. All I care about is what he does in the cage. And what he does in the cage is dominant. He's very dominant with his wrestling. He gets on top and he just flows so beautifully on the ground. Like he's able to get mount. And even if you say buck him off, he's still there and he's able to just completely dominate you on the ground. He's done that to a majority of his opponents. He got a twister in the UFC against Matt Sales. I don't want to say I remember him finishing Charles Rosa, but it was just more so that he had him in a shit ton of submissions, and then Charles Rosa is just really good at surviving the arm triangle. That's his thing. When you think of Charles Rosa, you think of Boston Strong and the fact that he can be put in an arm triangle and he won't tap out, but he always is being put in an arm triangle. And then his last fight with Andre Fili, I actually faded Bryce Mitchell against Andre Fili, and it didn't work out for me. He does have that very relentless wrestling. He's just a tough Arkansas boy. The dude is like super scrappy. But the thing is, Edson Barboza, we know what Edson brings to the table. I don't even have many notes on him. He's a fantastic kicker, striker. The dude can attack you from anywhere. He can knock you out from anywhere. He's very good at actually, since dropping down to featherweight, he's been phenomenal. He arguably beat Danny Ige, and he destroyed Makwan Americani, and he fucked up Shane Burgos. And then his last fight against Giga, I think if it would have been extended a little longer, had he survived, I think he actually would have won that fight, because Giga Chikadze, we kind of saw what happened when you get a striker that is able to extend it further and just kind of hurt him. And I think Edson had that capability, just that he got hurt because his chin isn't the greatest, and he got dominated and finished in the third round, if I recall. This fight comes down to obviously grappler versus striker. Bryce Mitchell's got that type of relentless grappling that Edson Barboza has issues with Kevin Lee, with Khabib. It's an interesting fight because it really makes you question the toughness of Bryce Mitchell. I think he's very tough, but how tough is he when he's getting his fucking legs chewed up? How good is he at relentlessly going for takedowns when he's got just the one leg? Edson Barboza is going to completely... I should preface it by saying this. If Edson Barboza does attack the legs, I think one leg kick is significant enough to hurt Bryce Mitchell, but he has to be weary about getting taken down, because Bryce Mitchell is the type of guy that will kind of bait you into throwing a kick so he can catch it and take you down. And at that point, if he's on the ground, I think he will have enough power and technique to hold down Edson Barboza. This one is a really tough 50-50 matchup for me, because part of me, knowing that Bryce Mitchell doesn't train out of a huge camp, this is the hardest matchup he's ever had to fight. He's fighting a guy who's fought everyone in lightweight and now in featherweight. And he's no scrub. He's no pushover. Although he's up in age, he's 36 years old. He's going to have the significant reach advantage by 5 inches, and he's going to be an inch taller. Barboza, that is. He's fought just way better competition than Bryce Mitchell. But the thing about Bryce Mitchell, though, which is concerning to me and why I think he's the favorite, is that if he does get you down, he can hold you there and he can batter you down there. And it's such a close fight, in my opinion. I was actually thinking about picking Edson Barboza to win this one because, although I like what I see from Bryce Mitchell, I'm not certain if he's the type of fighter yet at 14-0 that can withstand the barrage of Edson and continuously go forward after getting battered. I think he is, but I'm not 100% sure on that, which is making me think maybe picking Barboza would be a good spot. Barboza's going to really, really attack every bit of the body of Bryce Mitchell. Is going to attack the stomach, obviously the liver, the kicks, the head kicks. And if he can stuff the takedown, which I think Edson does have the ability to do. If you make Bryce Mitchell strike, he's not a good striker. Like, he's learning, right? What did I put it down as? He has the same type of striking that Ryan Hall has. Like, he throws a lot of weird hook kicks and stuff, mainly to close the distance to go for the takedown. In those exchanges on the feet, I'm so worried if I pick Bryce Mitchell to win or even bet on him, if he gets picked apart by the great striker that is Barboza, and if he cannot get any takedowns, he's kind of fucked. So I am worried about that. Bryce Mitchell, his boxing's not the greatest. Fuck, man, it's a really tough fight. This one I'm actually probably looking forward to the most because it's one of the more interesting matchups. If Bryce Mitchell can actually beat Edson Barboza, the sky's the limit, man, at featherweight. I'd like to see what happens. And I'm also worried that if Bryce Mitchell maybe throws hands with Edson Barboza, Edson's chin isn't, solid. It's not the greatest chin. So I'm worried that maybe Bryce Mitchell can accidentally knock out Edson Barboza, maybe throwing an overhand and trying to duck under. And then at that point, it knocks out Edson. Damn. When it's close like this, like, honestly, I think Mitchell is going to use that relentless grappling to edge out the decision. But because he's not super threatening on the feet, and because Edson Barboza is the underdog, I think I have to go with Edson to win this one at plus 130. It's tough, man. I think it's going to be interesting. I cannot wait to see it. Tentatively, I'll go with Barboza to win, just because I'm not fully sold on Bryce Mitchell. He hasn't shown me the proper skills on the feet to really, properly close the distance. He throws wild and then shoots for the legs, but when he gets under those legs, he will get a takedown. It's like, man, how good is Bryce Mitchell? I think he's good, but I don't think he's shown me enough to really be confident to pick him against Barboza. So I'll go with Barboza to win this one. I think he can actually finish Bryce Mitchell. So I'll go with Barboza to win this one by a third round TKO. I think Bryce Mitchell's super tough, but I think he'll batter him enough on the feet and, get a third round stoppage. So Barboza, third round TKO.
I'm actually going with, I'm going to shake this up. I'm actually going to go with Bryce Mitchell to get destroyed in the second round.
Okay. So you're actually going with Barboza officially? Because I was like, holy shit, I don't know who to pick.
Well, here's the thing. Barboza, he's a stand-up fighter, right? And Mitchell's more of a, like, his bread and butter is more, wrestling, grappling.
Yep.
But so far, Bryce Mitchell's competition is nowhere near the level of Barboza. You can make an argument for Andre Fili maybe, or Charles. I mean, if you look at the list of guys he's fought in the UFC thus far, nobody's record, comes even close to Barboza as far as, as far as the competition that Barboza has fought as well, and least of all Barboza's level, level of striking. This guy, when I think of Barboza, I think of like Jose Aldo, like striking. I think they're both, super high level strikers. And, they both have really devastating kicks. That's when Aldo does throw kicks nowadays. But I think Edson is going to, make Mitchell pay, when he does, when he tries takedowns or fails takedowns and whatnot. He's going to pay for sure. I mean, on the feet, Barboza is going to beat the shit out of him. And Mitchell's going to, panic and want to go to grappling mode. And I think that's when, he's going to tire himself out. And unless, he goes Khabib, full Khabib on Edson, which is, I think, his only shot.
That's what I'm worried about, man. Like, I'm worried that Bryce Mitchell is that kind of grappler. Just he continuously is a dog going for those takedowns. And that's always been Edson Barboza's, like, biggest weakness is getting taken down by those type of grapplers. Kevin Lee did it a lot. And obviously Khabib did it. And I think Bryce does have the cardio. That's why I'm like, shit, I think Bryce Bryce can win this one. Edson does have those issues, but those differences in striking are like ridiculous. And also, as you mentioned, the records, like Edson's fought Khabib and he's fought Kevin Lee. I mean, technically, Bryce Mitchell is a huge step down, but is this the moment that we find out that Bryce Mitchell's grappling is like, holy shit, this guy's really goddamn good? He is, but how good is it? If he dominates Edson Barboza, we've got some fucking talking to do. Like, Bryce Mitchell might be a contender in this division, but I don't know yet. So, yeah.
I don't know if he's there yet. He might be in a few years, but I think this is a huge step up in competition for him. He's going to see, he's going to for sure feel a difference between him and Andre Fili. He's going to be like, okay, I guess Andre Fili wasn't as good as as he thought he was initially. So he's, he's stepping in with one of the best for sure. Yeah, but I think he's going to get, TKO'd in the second round, and then for all I know, this is going to go the distance and they're going to be like, this guy wins by split decision. I think it's most,
Yeah.
I think more likely that's going to happen. All right, I'll change my thing. I think he's going to win by split decision because I think, after thinking about it a little bit more, I think this is going to go the distance and I think Edson's going to dominate on the feet, but then how they score this shit. If you get one takedown, it's like, nothing else happened in the round.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what the fuck?
Man.
So I think Barboza's going to beat the shit out of him, but then Bryce Mitchell is going to get like one takedown per round, and that's going to equate to him dominating, or dominating almost as much as Edson is. I'm still looking forward to the fight. I think it's going to be pretty exciting at times. When Bryce Mitchell isn't grappling for his life. It should be pretty good. Pretty fun.
This is one of my most anticipated bouts because we get to see how good Bryce Mitchell is. And, there's going to be a lot of talks about his interview with Ariel. He's a fucking redneck from Arkansas, man. What do you expect? He's a cool guy. I like the guy, but he's like, I actually got one of his stickers, the cook him to the bone stickers. I mean, he is who he is, it is what it is, but he's a great fighter, but we'll see where he's at level-wise when he fights Barboza. Well, let's move on. It's almost 2 hour long video here. Co-main event at lightweight and the true, I guess, one like a Highlander. Who is the true Rafael dos Anjos versus Rafael Fiziev? And currently the odds have it in favor of Fiziev minus 245. Come back on. Dos Anjos is a plus 205. And I did pick against Fiziev with Brad Riddell, and he proved me wrong completely by being more patient, more calculated, and such a fucking great striker, man. Like we discuss it all the time. He is the best striker at lightweight right now. He is so damn good. And what really proves how good he is as a striker and why he's the best striker was that knockout against Brad Riddell. I rewatched it a couple times, and if you pay attention, he switches his stances. He switches his stance from orthodox to southpaw because he kind of read that Brad Riddell kept kind of leaning towards the right, like trying to escape the cage, going to his right, I believe. I'm picturing it correctly. So he switches his stance once to kind of throw off Riddell. Riddell kind of ducks. Fiziev switches the stance again, and he throws the wheel kick and knocks him out. I'm like, holy shit, that is some high level brilliance from Fiziev. And Rafael dos Anjos, this was supposed to be the main event last week with Jamal Hill and Johnny Walker, but got postponed a bit. Cannot say anything negative about dos Anjos, man. I know he's 37 years old. He's older in age. He's moving back down to lightweight after having a brief stint in welterweight, but the dude's fought literally everyone of note. He is a fucking big, bald guy. He fought Robbie Lawler, Colby Covington, Kamaru Usman. The dude's a fucking beast, man. He's a legend of the sport, former champion. And recently he fought Paul Felder to a split decision where he completely dominated Paul Felder. The dude has earned my respect. It's just that I don't think he's going to beat Fiziev. This is a 5-round main event type of fight, co-main event. which I thought was fascinating. Had it been a 3-round fight, I would have been like, yeah, Fiziev, let's move on. But 5 rounds, there is a chance, of course, that Rafael Dos Anjos can extend the rounds. He's a crafty veteran. But Fiziev, the dude has a 95% takedown defense. His striking is the elite of the elite. He's fought some good competition on his way up. He's a very complete striker. I had to write that down. Complete because unlike Bahamundes, who we'll be seeing later tonight, fighting Zurong, what day is it today? What day is it today? The 26th. Saturday the 26th
the 26th
on the morning. So, like I mentioned about Bahamundes, he's a good striker, but his defense is shit. Fiziev's fucking complete and elite. Good defense, good offense. He switches stances. Like just watching him fight is fantastic. He's a tiger as well from Tiger Muay Thai. And I was iffy about his cardio when he fought Brad Riddell because of his fight with Bobby Green. And that was more so he used a lot of energy against Bobby Green, and he conserved himself against Brad Riddell. He still won that fight, of course, but he did give me a scare there, which concerns me if it does get extended. This is the first 5-round main event he's had in the UFC. Not main event, but co-main event. Just 5-round fight, period. So if Dos Anjos can survive, Dos Anjos is the black belt. He's a crafty fucking guy. He's no scrub with the Muay Thai. It brings in the other Rafael here. Rafael Cordero has been training this guy for a while, quite a long while in King's MMA. So he's not a scrub when it comes to the Muay Thai. And I can even see him even knocking out Rafael Fiziev, but it's very unlikely. It can happen, of course. Don't say it can't, because it absolutely can. But Fiziev, he's just so good with the counters. He's so fast. And I don't see Dos Anjos at that age, legend that he may be, veteran that he may be, Fiziev right now, I think he is the elite of the division, and I think he's going to catch Dos Anjos and actually finish him, which is like, it pains me to say because like Dos Anjos has never been a guy that I've been like a fan of, but it's like over the years, I'm like, this dude is fucking fighting Robbie Lawler and beating him at his own game. I'm like, you develop that respect for these guys, and I do respect Dos Anjos a lot. He's a future Hall of Famer. And it sucks to say he's going to get knocked out because I do think he's super tough still. He's got that titanium jaw. And had you have told me the guy who got destroyed by Clay Guida would be a future champion and literally be a guy that fights everybody, I'd be like, you're fucking nuts. But here he is. He's got my respect. Unfortunately, Fiziev, he's just too good. He can, of course, Fiziev can't make a mistake. I don't think he will, but if he does make a mistake, I think Rafael has the ability to capitalize and counter. But I just don't see Fiziev making many mistakes in the UFC anymore. Fighting Dos Anjos, I think it's the perfect fight for him. He called him out, the true Rafael. Rafael Fiziev, 2nd round TKO.
Yeah, I was looking at this initially, and so this is in my mind, this is actually going to be a striker versus grappler match. And I say that because I think Fiziev is the more dynamic striker, but I'm not counting out Dos Anjos because while Fiziev may be the more dynamic striker, Rafael has more in his toolbox. In other words, while he does have basic strikes, or I should say his strikes are more basic, he can set them up in more ways than I think Rafael or Fiziev can defend. And I say that because, Fiziev, he's going to be like, with his fancy punches and kicks and whatnot. But then I picture Rafael coming in with his grappling, either to take him down or to push him up against a cage. And then that's where Rafael's magic is he's going to work his magic. So I think Rafael's, I think maybe a lot of people are counting out Rafael's grappling. He's actually a fantastic grappler, and I think he's going to show that in this fight as well. I'm actually going with Dos Anjos with a 2nd round arm triangle. I think he's going to be able to get him down and just surprise him. Be like, hey, I guess maybe Fiziev forgot about his grappling as well. It's not just, I mean, it may not be Khabib grappling, but it's still still pretty aggressive. And I think he's yeah, it makes him a more complete fighter. While I am a fan of Fiziev and I'd like to see him, go further, I think Dos Anjos is that, brick walls, steel wall, whatever that he's going to hit, and it's going to hit him pretty hard. So yeah, I'm going with Dos Anjos with a second round submission.
Pretty ballsy, dude.
Yeah.
That's a pretty ballsy. Like, I don't discredit it. Like, I think it's possible. I think Dos Anjos, again, he's a super crafty guy, and like, I do hold Fiziev in a high regard. I think his takedown defense, I mean, so far it's held up very, very well. Like, he's just that years of Muay Thai in the clinch, he's able to stuff takedowns. But damn, I do worry about Dos Anjos just being better. You know what I mean? Just exploiting that one moment, and then he just snatches up something, and I'm like, oh shit. Like, I do not want to see the panic in Fiziev's face. You know what I mean? Let's just say worst thing happens. He gets taken down, and Dos Anjos has him in a really bad spot, like taking his back. Will he panic? I don't think he will. But if I do happen to see that panic, I'm going to start making memes like, Fiziev is a bitch. He sucks. Just like, the internet does. But yeah, man, I do worry about that happening, but I'm fairly confident myself in Fiziev. I think he's going to do what he does. He keeps, anytime I doubt the guy, he keeps like surprising me. So I expect him to surprise me again.
Yeah, he's, I mean, it's going to be, I think, a great fight, but yeah, I think Rafael's going to come out on top, and he's going to be the, the one and only Rafael for now. Because I think Fiziev is on his way up, but I think he's still got a lot of the grappling, a lot of the MMA stuff to work out. Because straight Muay Thai, straight on his feet, I think he'll, he can probably decimate 90% of the roster. But then you have just straight grapplers and guys who are more complete than him at this time, like Dos Anjos is. Like, I counted out Dos Anjos quite a few times already, but he's shown that he still has a bit left in his tank, and I think he'll definitely show that here, especially on it was, I think it was great when they were the main event of a fight night, but being the co-main event of a pretty big ass card that, as we were discussing earlier, isn't being promoted as much as I thought it would be, because I was like, oh
yeah.
Okay. Because I saw it and I was like, oh shit, Colby's fighting this guy next week. Huh? That kind of, wow, all right.
Like, they are promoting it now. I think there's like a Stephen A. Smith interview with both of these guys, but it's like, dude, you're doing it a little too late. Like, I honestly forgot about this card. I was like, oh shit, I forgot Colby was fighting Masvidal. Like, it's not really getting the huge promotion that it really deserves. Maybe because there's no title behind it, unless you want to count the BMF title that doesn't belong to Masvidal anymore. But yeah, you got a point. It's like, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's flying under the radar. Like, of course, us being like hardcores, we know about it, but when it comes to like the promotion of it, like, they got to do better.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fairly. I look at the cards coming up. I'm like, okay, great. But even for me, with all this shit going on for me, I'm like, oh wow, they're fighting already. Just because I haven't seen billboards or commercials or these other shits. They usually do a way better job of promoting such a big card. Because I think this is probably one of the last main events that Masvidal is going to do, because people are going to be like, oh yeah, he is a scrub.
Well, let's move on to that fight at welterweight, main event of the evening: Colby Covington versus Jorge Gamebred Masvidal. And just because I put a bit of work into that, can you see that picture that I have of Masvidal? Does it make sense to you? If you can't see it, how about now?
Yeah, no, I can see it. Yeah.
I was like, I had Chelsea Photoshop it for me, because I'm like, oh, it's perfect. But currently the odds have it in favor of, obviously, Colby Covington. Minus 350 comeback on Masvidal is a plus 185. Street Jesus is then getting crucified again. Let's go back here. Let's not be that sacrilegious. But yeah, Colby Covington, as we know, cardio king, great wrestling. He fought Kamaru Usman twice, and he's the only guy that really gave Kamaru Usman any issues in there. And if you want to be that guy, I mean, I would like to argue it, but you can potentially say that Colby Covington, depending on how you score rounds, either won the fight, went to a draw, or whatever. But yeah, Usman won that one. But man, Colby Covington, just to get out of the way, his last fight with Usman, he kind of let me down, man. Like, I know he's training out of MMA Masters now, but his striking looked in the first 2 rounds or so, he was like, what the fuck are you doing, Colby? He kept throwing uppercuts almost like fucking, what's his name, Glass Joe from Punch Out. Like, he would like wind him up from super far and then like whoop, like they would just whiff by and not even look like it made contact. I'm like, what are you doing, Colby? And then later in the rounds, like, I'm like, okay, Colby's doing better, but I hate to say it, I lost faith in Colby in those first 2 rounds. I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? Like, he did not look good. And then whatever kicked in later rounds, I'm like, oh shit, here we go. He's doing better. He's striking better. And for Masvidal, we know what Masvidal brings to the table. Guy's a very complete fighter, cannot stuff takedowns. We've seen Colby take him down, obviously, on the internet. They used to train together. We have that whole narrative. I was heartbroken when I found out that they weren't BFFs anymore. I was like, oh no. Like, I hope this is fake. I hope they're just trying to get money. And it seems as if they fucking hate each other. So Masvidal is 37 years old. He got knocked out by Kamaru Usman with a beautiful right hand, his last fight. And then prior to that, got decision by Usman. You know, we know what Masvidal brings to the table. He's a very crafty veteran, very crafty striker. I mean, say what you want about Masvidal, he can fucking strike, man. His kicks, he's super fast. His hands are fantastic. Great boxing. Colby, though, Colby's tough. Colby's got the cardio. Colby's got the wrestling, and he's not afraid of striking with Masvidal. They've grappled and they've fought together. They've trained together. They know each other very well. And had this happened earlier, I could maybe make a case for Jorge winning this one. And yeah, Jorge, even now, like, I'm not going to say he doesn't have a chance to beat Colby Covington. You know, Jorge's been training with Bo Nickel, collegiate level wrestler, just to try to get ready for Colby. So yeah, maybe his takedown defense is going to get better. As we've heard in the past, Jorge loves wrestling. That's like his favorite thing. Like, he tried to wrestle in high school, but he couldn't because he sucked at math or whatever. But Colby's a different type of athlete, different type of level. He's not going to let Jorge Masvidal get back up, and I think he's going to beat his ass on the ground, talk shit. I don't think he'll finish Masvidal, but because of that last fight with Usman where he got knocked out cold at 37 years old, once you ring that bell, you can't unring that bell. He got cracked really hard, and Masvidal's been dropped multiple times in his career, and he's able to recover. That time he wasn't. And that amount of punishment concerns me that Colby Covington could potentially rock and finish Masvidal, even on the feet. You know, we talk shit about Colby's his striking, but he's a competent striker. What he did to Robbie Lawler was impressive as hell, man. It's just that I think Jorge Masvidal is a different type of striker, and knowing the background that he has with Colby, I think he knows his weaknesses. And you know, I do worry a bit because Colby, his last time out, his striking looked worse than ever, man. I did not like what I saw, but if he makes those adjustments, obviously tries to grapple, go for the takedowns, Colby, he's not going to stop at the one takedown. He'll continuously go for more takedowns. Even if, say, he gets hurt on the feet, let's just say Masvidal happens to land a knee. All right, I'll put it to you this way. This fight is going to be what we thought Askren versus Masvidal was supposed to be. Askren dominating Masvidal. I think Colby Covington's going to get the revenge for Askren on this fight, using his wrestling, dominating. I want to say by decision, he completely destroys Masvidal. I don't think Masvidal is going to give up. I think he will continuously try to fight. I think he might get cut up a bit, get blood on his eyes, and Colby's just going to be talking shit and like, Trump loves me better. Trump loves, you know, it is what it will be. Colby's just going to dominate. My concern is if you're planning on betting the over or possibly the decision prop on Colby, my concern is that will he beat the shit out of Masvidal so badly that he finishes him? Very possible. But yeah, I'll go with Colby Covington with a safe decision. And I say safe is because I think he's going to see the final bell of the 5th round, but I think he's going to fucking destroy Masvidal. Masvidal might put up a good fight in the first 2 rounds, but rounds 3 and 5, all Colby ground and pound decimation. Colby Covington by a decision.
Yeah, I think funny enough you bring Ben Askren, because the way I picture this fight going is, Masvidal's going to do that stupid thing where he's going to try to set up the flying knee.
Yeah.
He's going to anticipate Colby coming for him. He's going to try to set up that flying knee, and then Colby's going to move out of the way, and then Masvidal, he doesn't have shit. He's going to have jack shit for Colby. Colby's, I think he's going to, push forward with the pressure, eventually get him up against the cage, get him down, and that'll be the end of that. I don't think Masvidal's going to really offer much resistance. He may offer a little bit of resistance, but he's been overhyped. He's one of these hype trains that really, isn't all that good. I've never been high on him at all. Even against Nate Diaz, I thought, oh well, Nate's gonna put up Nate starts off slow, but I thought he was gonna put up a fight, and he just happened to get cut, lost that fight, whatever. But here against Colby's at the top of his game. He's gonna bring the pressure. He's going to really just negate anything that Masvidal is going to do, which is jack shit. He's more concerned about things outside the cage than actually getting better. And I think, Masvidal's going the Khabib route, and he has I think he has his own promotion, Game Bread, something or other.
Yeah, Game Bread FC.
Yeah, so he's more, I think, concerned with things outside the cage, like I said, than actually worrying about winning fights. But even if he did worry about winning this fight, he can't. Not against Colby. Not right now. And so, yeah, I think Colby's not the safe bet, because there's always the flash knockout possibility. Mm-hmm. But I think Colby's going to win here. Colby's going to just dominate the fight. I don't think it'll be. It should, in my mind, it should be fireworks, but it won't be, because, and again, just because Masvidal won't really have much to offer Colby, except, maybe, hammer punches from the bottom or something, or I don't know, some boring shit. So it'll be a pretty lackluster, I think, main event. But I'm still looking forward to it, just because I'm looking forward to Colby's interviews. Both his post-fight as well as his post, that post, interview that they have with everybody. But, yeah, so I'm going with Colby here. I think very few people are going to go with Masvidal. He's not. I would only go with Masvidal if he was fighting like maybe Leon Edwards or some shit.
Even now, I'm like, I don't know, man.
No, I mean, even then, I was going to say even then, like, maybe not, but yeah, he's not. Yeah, Masvidal is not top 10 at this point, not in the least. Can't really think of anybody who he could beat in the top 10, or even top 15 at this point. I'd be hard pressed to come up with anyone. But yeah, that's all I got for this. Don't much more to add.
Yeah, dude, it's gonna be a great fight. I'm looking forward to it. Like this pay-per-view, man. Like I'm looking forward to it, but like as you mentioned, it didn't get a whole ton of publicity, like for the gravitas that it has, the mega power friends imploding. I think it should have been, hyped up a bit more. So I can't say that I'm like super excited for it. I just feel like the promotion hasn't been there. But just rewatching tape on these guys, it just kind of brings back like, oh shit, it's going to happen. Colby Covington's going to fight Jorge Masvidal, and we get to see the beef finally come down in the cage. So I'm looking forward to it. But those have been our predictions. Do you have any ideas for parlays? Because I'm looking at the at the card, and I'm like, shit, all these guys are pretty highly priced, the guys that I actually think are going to win. And like, for example, if I were to go with a specific parlay with Colby Covingtonov, Rafael Fiziev, Tajir Ulanbekov, Kellen Havanov from Hendrickstan, and Umar Nurmagomedov, all the OVs, that's a 5-team parlay, and it gives me 307. And, I'm not loving those odds. They're all pretty significant favorites. I actually might just stick to like straight bets. I think a straight bet for me would be Kevin Holland. I think he wins plus 250 is not terrible. So a couple $100 there would get you some decent money. There are some underdogs that I like Mikhail Olekseijczuk. I like him as a dog. Edson Barboza as a dog might be a good play. And, if you want to maybe mix and match with some underdogs in there, if you want to put some money on that, like let's just say if I add Edson Barboza and Mikhail, that gives me a plus 2,200. So if I kind of play it light, like $5 on that would get me $111. So I don't know. I'm not really feeling the parlays on this particular fight card. Like I do like the underdog plays straight, opposed to like adding them to a parlay with guys that I think are going to win, opposed to guys like, for example, Negumereanu, that he could win the fight, but odds are he'll ruin your parlay. But those are my thoughts on that. Do you have any ideas for possible parlays?
Yeah, I would mix parlays with Umar Nurmagomedov.
All right.
Marino Rodriguez. Maria Agapova. I would do the the main card, which would be Kevin Holland, Barboza, Dos Anjos, and Covington. So I would take all those and just kind of mix and match parlays. Do my weird thing.
Yeah, if you were to do that parlay with Umar Nurmagomedov, Marina Rodriguez, Agapova, Colby, Holland, Barboza, and Dos Anjos, that gives you about plus 2,631. So
Okay.
$5 there gets you $131.
Yeah, it's if you want to if you want to make it a little interesting, then yeah, it's not bad. Personally, I do like a $1 parlay. I wouldn't even do 5. I do like if I had $5, I'd do 5 parlays. I kind of cut. The way I do it is, I list them, with the highest odds going down.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would do like a $5 parlay with all of them, and then for the next parlay, or rather a $1 parlay with all of them, and then for the next parlay I do a $1 parlay, but I cut out the highest, the lowest odds, I should say. Right, so like if somebody was like minus 400, minus 500, I cut that one out, do the rest, and so on. And so I'd have an exciting five tickets to hopefully cash out.
Yeah, dude, I am not certain which route I'm going to go. So if you're interested in, say, my particular picks, follow the Discord, which will be a link below. But yeah, that'll be us from TigerBum MMA, Johnny and Jose, breaking down UFC 272, Covington versus Masvidal. Let us know in the comments, like, do you feel the way we feel when it comes to like the selection of this fight? Like, do you feel hyped for it? Like, at the very moment, like we still have, what is it tonight? Tonight's main event. Holy shit, what is tonight's main? Oh, Islam versus Bobby Green. Like, I'm more excited for that. Maybe because that hasn't happened yet. I'm not hyped up for this one, but I just don't feel it. It's like, oh shit, it's happening, but I just don't feel it. So let us know in the comments below what you think. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Again, leave a comment, follow the Discord, follow the Twitter, Instagram. Johnny and Jose, TigerBum MMA. And as always, Jose, you might not have been here because Carlos Ulberg completely fucked me on a pretty significant bet where I needed him to finish a guy who's been finished multiple times in the UFC. Carlos Ulberg did not finish Fabio Cherant, thus me losing my bet. And as a man, I could just accept the fact that I made a bad pick, but I'd rather go the opposite way and just say, fuck Ulberg.